For today, we will have the sound on. Thank you, everybody, for letting me know. So again, I'm Kelly G. We are back for another webinar. Today is Thursday, August 22nd. Everybody's muted. I was not trying to trick you at all, but it looks like the muting is working. You can have your cameras on or off. And that reminds me that if you need closed captioning, you can certainly employ that. And hopefully that's working well for everybody today. So with that being said, I will let you know that I will talk about next week's webinar before we finish today. But before that, we want to get to the good part for today. And I am happy to introduce to you our speaker. I'll turn my camera a little bit. I'm really excited today. Usually I'm at home or at my desk here at KU by myself. And today I get to have our guest speaker in the room with me at the office. We have Kim Ludwig from the VA. She is a licensed clinical social worker. And as she's going to tell us today, the coordinator of the Medical Foster Homes Project with the Veterans Administration. She's got, what is it, almost 30 years of experience, Kim?
Yeah.
And being a wonderful social worker, I can be a little bit biased. I think social workers are amazing. And she's going to tell us all about this great program that the VA has. So with that said, Kim, I'm going to set up your slides to share, and then I will turn it over to you. Everybody, if you have questions for Kim while she is presenting, use the chat and we will monitor that. Here we go. Here you are. We want to share Kim. We'll do that. And Kim, I think in any moment now you will be ready. Yes. So everybody, welcome Kim Ludwig.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly, for the warm introduction. As Kelly stated, I'm Kim Ludwig. I'm a clinical social worker at the Kansas City VA. I've spent most all of my career, just a little bit about me, I spent all of my career in mental health. But as my parents, my 80-year-old and 91-year-old father, my parents have been aging, I have been their caregivers. So I have stepped down from management at the VA and in mental health, and I've taken over this wonderful program called the Medical Foster Home Program. And how do I maneuver this forward?
Probably easier if you just use the arrows. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Okay. Oops. Okay, technology.
Yeah.
Is multitasking here. So the Medical Foster Home Program, I don't know if anyone has heard of this program, most likely not. The Kansas City VA has had this program for several years, probably at least 10 years. But through the pandemic, the foster home program has dwindled, and we have not had very many homes after the pandemic and through the pandemic. So last year, I stepped into this program to rebuild it, to get the word out, and educate the community about medical foster home and to grow the program. So what is a medical foster home? This is really foster care, or it's like Ubering for our senior aging veterans. So you've heard of foster care for children. This is essentially the opposite end of the spectrum. So this is fostering our aging veterans who are chronically ill, no longer able to care for themselves, and can't live safely independently. So these veterans move into a caregiver's home. And that's the caveat to this program is they have to leave their homes or where they've been staying because they need 24-hour supervision. So the veteran moves into the caregiver's home, and these caregivers are not related to the veterans. They are caregivers that are regular lay folks that live in the community and choose to be caregivers. So the veteran moves into the caregiver's home. These homes do not have to be licensed. There's no license required in Missouri or Kansas because these homes only have up to 3 veterans. So they could either have 1, 2, or 3 veterans that they care for, depending on their space, depending on their ability to care for more than one. So that's the reason why they do not have to have a state license. So this model is a family model versus a business model. And what I mean by that is the veteran gets integrated into the family. So just as you have, you know, your parent or your grandparent that you move in, your loved one, your aging loved one that moves in with you, and you care for them and provide, you know, food and assist with their ADLs. This is exactly that same model. So they truly get integrated into the family as if they were part of the family. Versus a business model is, those homes are actually required to have license. So those are licensed homes, care homes that move seniors into those homes. And there are usually more than 3. So that is kind of the key to this program, is no more than 3, and the family model. The veteran does pay the caregivers. So right now, this is a private contract. So the veteran privately pays out of pocket for these homes and the caregiver. That range in this area is around $3,000 a month. So when you think about the cost of, you know, a monthly fee for nursing homes, I'm sure there's nursing homes that are usually well beyond the $3,000 mark. So $3,000 is, you know, really not a lot for 24/7, you know, care for these, you know, elderly veterans. And it's, you know, while it's a pretty reasonable payment for them, you think about as a full-time caregiver, that really is, that's not a lot of money. I mean, these, you know, these caregivers are really doing it because, first and foremost, they love being a caregiver. And then secondly, they get paid for it. So the homes have to have, the caregivers have to have a backup caregiver. So when I say 24/7, of course, the caregivers have to, you know, run errands and, you know, spend time with, you know, maybe their friends in the community and go out to dinner and things, or travel. So when they are away from the home and the veteran is not with them, then they have their backup caregiver. So those backup caregivers it could be a spouse, it could be a partner who lives in the home, it could be an adult child who lives in the home, or it certainly could be anybody outside of the home. I've got a current home right now, and her adult daughter lives with her, and her adult daughter is the backup caregiver. So then if they happen to go to a family trip, she also has another son in the area that's her second backup caregiver. So I will say that all medical foster home caregivers, they have to be vet. Actually, I think that's on my next slide. So yeah, I'll wait to say that then. The homes, the foster homes, have a medical team that comes to the home to provide the medical care. So, as I mentioned, if this is a family model, the caregiver does not have to be any kind of licensed medical person. So it would just be like any of us, who's caring for our parents, who, you know, I'm a social worker. I don't know anything about, you know, being a medical provider. So when I care for my 91-year-old father, I'm not drawing blood or doing any kind of medical procedures on him. So this is the same as the caregivers. They are not required to be medical professionals or have any kind of certificates or anything like that. Which is why our medical team, it's our home-based primary care team who comes to the home, the foster home, and provides that medical care for the veteran. It's a multidisciplinary team. So that team consists of, we have a nurse practitioner, we have a pharmacist, a dietitian, we have OT, PT, a social worker that's assigned, a psychologist that's as needed. We have a rec therapist and an art therapist. So very big team based on the care plan and the veterans' needs. They come to the home, and they can come to the home up to at least, I know some homes that have had their care team come to the home twice a week if needed. If those veterans are bed bound, but they can also, you know, come as needed based on the medical care. Which is a huge component of having the veteran in the foster homes, because that's a huge relief to the caregiver is, you know, when there is, you know, any kind of medical changes, any kind of, you know, changes or concerns medically, the caregiver just contacts their home nurse and the medical team, and they can schedule to come out that day or the next day as needed. presently these foster homes nationwide, this is a national program through the VA. So presently, the current statistic, I was able to pull this number up recently, is we have over 500 veterans enlisted in this program and participating in the program. So 700 veterans that would normally either be in an unsafe environment in their home, probably living alone, or in nursing home care. And we have approximately 500 caregivers. Can I scoot this over? How do I scoot this over?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Should do that.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Perfect. So, and like I said, approximately 500 caregivers within the VA, and that's within this program, and that's within 48 states. So this program is growing nationwide, which is great because, like I said, not only is it cost effective for the veterans in the VA, it's just overall a great option for the veterans. And like I said, it's an alternative to long-term nursing care. I probably should have started out the presentation and asked the audience, is there anybody out there who, wants to grow old and wants to live in a nursing home? I don't know if I usually don't get very many hands. I usually don't get any hands that get raised. So, I usually will always say, if you're not raising your hand to go to grow old and move to a nursing home, then, this is the perfect presentation and, information for you. So, I'm assuming there's no hands being raised right now.
I don't see any.
Okay. Okay. So criteria for the medical foster home caregivers. So caregivers obviously have to be 18 years old and older. My average right now in the Kansas City area, like I had mentioned, I took over this program, but last year we did not have any homes, and I'm working on growing and expanding this program. So right now, my goal actually this entire 2024 year, 2024 year was to open up one home. So, which is a very, very small number, but this is a very hard sell. So, caregivers are good quality caregivers are hard to find. It is a selfless, job, and it is a 24/7 job. Caregivers, most of them don't get paid, and, it's a tireless job. They may work full time, they may have kids, they may have, they may be in the sandwich generation where they're working, they have kids, and they're caring for their senior family member. So it's a lot. So, when I promote this program to the community and share it, it's a hard sell. It's a heavy lift for caregivers to say, to even think about, they care for their own family member, or they don't even care for their family member. It may be the opposite, that they're not the caregiver, let alone thinking about bringing in someone else who they're not even related to, and caring for them. It's a tough, it's a tough sell. But, I'll tell you, the caregivers that I have 2 of them right now, and I'm working on 2 more. So I believe by the end of the year, I will have in the Kansas City area 4 homes. And that varies from 2 veterans per home, 1 to 2 veterans per home right now. So it's a small number, but it's a slow grow. And, the whole point of this program is to get quality quantity over quality, I should say. So I'm really looking for the quantity, or the quality of the caregivers. So all caregivers go through our federal background checks. So these background checks are pretty intensive, they're pretty invasive, I should say, just because they are really digging into, all the jobs that they've worked at, all the locations that they've lived at. There's a pretty, it's a pretty intensive background check and fingerprinting check for the caregiver and the backup caregivers. So, that is to ensure safety of our veterans and anybody, as you can imagine, if you're placing your family member with a stranger, essentially, it's somebody you don't know. You eventually get to know them, and you eventually really, learn to love that caregiver when they're caring for your loved one. But in the beginning, you don't know that person. So, ensuring that these caregivers are all federally, vetted, is extremely important. And that's what we do off the top. That's the first thing I do. Before I even receive the application, we start with federal background checks. And then once the federal background checks are all clear, and there's nothing, noted, then we move forward with the process. The caregivers have to comply, with several things, and fire drills are a big part of safety, so all homes have to go through, they have to do fire drills every other month, and it's a 3-minute exit, so all caregivers have to practice fire drills and timed for 3 minutes. So if you have, a veteran that lives, if they are both, all the veterans are on the top floor, practicing those fire drills and 3-minute exits are gonna be, key, because that's a real thing. We hope that fires don't happen, but they actually have happened in foster homes, and the fire drills are essential to practice and for safety purposes. Hands-on care, I mean, that's kind of the fundamentals of this program is they are caring for the veteran, on a daily basis, and that's, depends on their level of care, ADLs, if they're, need assistance with, their showering, their bathing, toileting, transferring, cooking, all of that, all the meal preps and all of that are provided. So the veterans are paying for the caregiver in addition to their food. So the caregivers, that's kind of the one thing that the veterans always say is they always praise their caregivers on the food that they cook. So as we know, certainly in our culture and probably all other cultures, food is a centralized unit with the family, a very nurturing part of our family units, and the caregivers are no less than that as well. They provide 3 meals a day and snacks. Let's see, I have a veteran right now that's a 90-year-old veteran that I moved him from a nursing home to the caregiver's home back in May, and he was actually emotionally not doing well in the nursing home. He had pressure sores on both of his feet from laying in bed too long, and he's probably about 15 to 20 pounds underweight. So since May, since he's been in the caregiver's home, I check on them monthly and do drop-in visits. He's put on 15 pounds. He's going up and down the stairs really well on his own. He actually tells me he does not want a stair glider because he wants to use the stairs for exercise, which he's doing remarkably. And the pressure sores are completely healed. So he is, as a 90-year-old, he's thriving really well in this home. The caregivers have to adhere to the medical plan. So those medical plans are, individually based for veteran and their medical needs. The caregivers have to participate in my monthly unannounced visits. So I'm the coordinator of the program and have the administrative oversight. So, I come in monthly and pop in and check on the veteran and meet with them individually to see how they're doing. Are they liking it there? What are their dislikes? What are their concerns? Hands down, I don't hear of very many concerns. In fact, I haven't heard any concerns as of yet, which is great because to me, they have the veteran has the opportunity to meet with me privately to share any of those concerns. And across the board, the veterans, really love being in their caregiver's home because they ultimately know what, the plan is if they're not in this home. They're in a nursing home. I think that one of the funny things is one of the caregivers that I had, or the veterans that I had met with in another program, shared with me that he loves his caregiver so much that if he could marry his caregiver, he would. And I think that that's really how they feel. Is it's heartwarming because. Again, these are veterans that, are either alone with limited resources, and really ultimately never expected to have an option other than a nursing home. And then finally, biannual, training. So, I do trainings, for the caregivers. Like I said, they don't have to be medically certified or trained. They do have to go through basic life support, like CPR, and know the basic CPR. But there's a whole bunch of, a whole list of training topics that I do with the caregivers twice a year. So it's just training and education for them to learn things like medication management, food safety, fire safety, dementia is one, caring for them, taking care of their own mental well-being is one topic. So they participate in those, and I think they enjoy those as well on a biannual basis. Okay, criteria for the homes. Most of the caregivers own their own homes, but they can rent. If they do rent a home, we just need to know from the landlord or the managing company, is it okay to have someone outside of, who's on the lease, being a part of, the living arrangement. Obviously, the homes have to be insured. All the homes, the bedrooms, are individual for each veteran, and they provide the basic furnishings in those rooms. Interconnected smoke detectors, those are that's kind of a new thing within all of these newer homes. I know when I grew up, we didn't have interconnected fire and safety smoke detectors. They were just all individually placed with batteries. So these homes have to be interconnected, which has not posed an issue. That it seems like all these newer homes have that already. It is a deal breaker though, if they don't have that and if they're not willing to get it. So the homes have to be, we serve within a 50-mile radius from the VA. So that's really it's a pretty widespread area. So it's really all the way north, like to Excelsior Springs and Cameron, as far south as like Paola, Kansas, all the way east, like to Lexington, Harrisonville. So it's a pretty wide range. I'm always looking for caregivers, so to open up new homes. I'm always out and about for, doing these presentations to be able to share, the information, to seek out new caregivers, in open homes. The homes, go through an annual inspection. So the multidisciplinary team I had mentioned, which is our home-based primary care team. I have a group of those folks who are a part of the home inspection team. So I lead the inspection team, and we do that upon opening each home and then annually. So the nurse does an inspection. There's a physical therapist that does one. I have a dietitian. I do the psychosocial part of the home inspection, and then our fire safety officer from the VA does his inspection. This is a very short list of the benefits of a medical foster home. This is just some of the things that the veterans have mentioned to me of the benefits. This really can probably be doubled, but those are some of the benefits of the foster home. And really what I always hear, probably first and foremost, is being an alternative to a nursing home. That seems to be the common theme through most veterans, is they say that, it keeps them out of a nursing home. We need nursing homes. I'm not definitely not against nursing homes. We've got lots of good nursing homes out there. We need them just for the sheer number of seniors that, have to be placed in nursing home. But this is just a different option. Medical foster home may not be for, everybody, but it certainly gives, our veterans an option to choose from. I will say an interesting caveat that's coming down the pipeline soon is there is a new law within the last 2 years called the Cleland-Dole Act, and that part of that act and law is the medical foster home program. So that's one reason why all of the VAs nationwide are getting their medical foster homes up and running, because of this Cleland-Dole Act. And a big part of this act and law is the VA will be paying for these medical foster homes. So that is a huge component because any veteran that's 70% service connected or higher will be eligible to be in for the VA to pay for this for the VA to be paying for these programs. And what's interesting though, and what's great is right now, you know, the VA pays for nursing homes. We have a contract, a list of contract nursing homes that we work with, and the VA pays for those nursing homes. Well, it's soon, probably within, I mean, National's working on it now, actually, of what that's gonna look like for the VA to pay for the caregivers and for the foster homes. So that's really gonna be a game changer for a lot of these veterans, who ultimately can't pay out of pocket, for the homes. So more to come on that. As I mentioned, so quality of life, definitely, is important for all of us, and certainly our seniors, you know, as they're aging, you know, their health is deteriorating, their mobility is, you know, deteriorating, and their sense of isolation, you know, has increased. And, you know, the quality of life has really increased and expanded, you know, tremendously with these veterans being in foster care. These are actual veterans that are currently, these are the ones that these are veterans, we have permission for these photos to be shared for marketing and promoting purposes, but these are veterans that are in our Wichita program. So these were taken just recently. So we've got one veteran that loves to have a garden, so they did a stand-up garden flower bed for him to be able to work on and be outside. This picture with the lady, with the African American lady holding this, I don't know what she's holding, a wand or something. That's Trish, one of our caregivers in Wichita. Her veterans love her. I mean, she's actually this veteran one of the veterans sitting next to her with the red glasses is the one who said he would marry Trish if he could because he loves her so much. The veteran below her, that's below that photo, that's working on typing something, that actually, they provided that device for him to be able to hear some of his, I don't know if those are scriptures. I think those are Bible scriptures that he's able to hear and listen to. So that was really cool. The veteran in the red sweatshirt is working on an art project. It's part of the project. Part of the medical foster home is the veterans have the option of having a recreational therapist and an art therapist come to the home to provide just ancillary recreational activities for them. So some of the veterans never even knew that they would love, you know, and enjoy art and crafts. And this veteran was one of them. So with the creative arts therapist, he's working on a project. This gentleman up to the corner with the Christmas tree in front of him. This is his every single day look, is having this smile from ear to ear. I don't think I've ever seen him without that smile on his face. It's heartwarming to see him smiling that big every day, really all the time. And the veteran down below with the Christmas tree, this is a third generation little guy that lives in the home. So this is one of the younger caregivers who she's young, in her 30s. She's got two little ones and a husband, and she is probably one of our younger caregivers in the Wichita program. And when I met with her, I asked her, you know, how do you do this as a 32-year-old, young mom with a family? How do you do this, and why do you do this? You know, why do you choose to do this program? And she actually explained to me that, you know, when she was a kid, she grew up with her grandfather living with her, and they cared for her grandfather until end of life. And she just loved it. It was just part of her life. So she wanted to be able to give back, and she also wanted to work from home and be home with her kiddos. So this was kind of a win-win. So she has she actually cares for two veterans. So two senior veterans in her home that she cares for, and she's home with her kiddos when they're home from school. And she actually explained that, you know, They don't call the veterans by their name, their last name, or just like Mr. Jones, or Mr. Smith. They call them, Papa. So, it's cool to see that because it really is, it is a program that truly is life-changing. Promoting the program. So this is interesting because I'm a social worker with no marketing experience, no marketing degree by any stretch of the imagination. This job is really a big part of it once in addition to opening homes and being, having the oversight of the program on the administrative level, promoting the program is a big piece of this. So I'm constantly, out in the community, talking about the program, promoting the program, giving presentations, you name it. I go to anything that I can. I was just at the Missouri State Fair last week, and doing kind of a tabling event. I had no idea that I was gonna be sitting at the table in the rodeo stand, with a dirt floor, but I trucked through the dirt floor and set up, my table and, for Senior Day, and promoted the program at the Missouri State Fair, for Senior Day. And that was fun because it was a lot of foot traffic that came through. And really, I rely heavily on community partners, family members, community partners, really anybody and everybody in the community to help spread the word. I am a one-woman show. I am the only person that's in this program, so I'm doing all the ins and outs of this program. So I really do, rely on you guys as community partners to spread the word. I will give the brochure. Did I send that to you PDF already? This
I
brochure?
don't recall, I'll double check.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a brochure, that I will send to Kelly, in a PDF file, which is just an email, and you're welcome to blast that out, however you want to blast it out to your church members, your neighbors, family, friends, anybody and everybody really to help spread the word. You can post it on your social media, however you feel like, you would like to share the information about the program. I would be, very grateful for that. Word of mouth is by far probably the best marketing, skill. And last but not least, I'm going to share the CBS segment. The CBS segment was just recently aired on Eye of America. It's our Baltimore program, and it's just a little, probably a 3-minute segment of kind of the day in the life of the medical foster home caregiver and 3 veterans that are placed in this home.
Okay, I'm gonna slide back over to Kim and get that up and running. Everyone, thank you so much, Kim. This is such a neat program to hear about. Goal of the weekly webinar is always to share resources in the community. And for those of you who might not be in the Kansas City area, I know we heard Kim say that there is a similar program in Wichita, is that right? And likely
All over Kansas.
all over
Missouri.
Kansas and Missouri. So we are super excited to know that. I'm going to get the video that Kim mentioned shared up on the screen here. Everybody cross your fingers that this works well. That was not what I wanted to share. So hang on. I will be back with the right thing to share in just a moment. Let's see, here it is. This is what I wanted to share. I think we can just press play.
About 1 in 7 senior citizens are veterans. In their later years, many of them face challenges to get the care they need. Now, the Department of Veterans Affairs is exploring a way to help. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's James Brown reports on an approach that relies on the time-honored idea that there's no place like home.
Chantel Cross and her 2 kids said 3 extra places for dinner.
You want more, Charlie?
And Charles McCoubry, Peter Samaras, and Eckhart Teese couldn't be happier to have a seat at the table.
I like living here.
The 3 men are part of what's called the Medical Foster Home Program,
You gonna play catch with Charlie?
an innovative approach to an old problem. Taking care of veterans who need extra care later in life.
Give me what some of the advantages are of living here in a home as opposed to a nursing facility.
It's nice here, and being in a nursing home,
they just throw you away. They ignore you. But here we're like part of the family.
All three men served in the military in the late 60s and early 70s. Charles in the Navy, Peter and Eckhart in the Army, which is the subject of some good-natured ribbing in their home. What do you guys like about each other?
Nothing.
Yeah.
He's like a brother to me, yeah.
Good job.
Chantel's career began in a nursing home, but she realized she could provide a more comfortable environment in her home.
Very good.
Medical professionals and social workers visit the vets. Or also takes them to services outside the home.
The daycare center they go to is wonderful. We take the guys out to the mall, let them do some walking. Some might want coffee, we get them ice cream.
Our caregivers treat the veterans as their own family.
Dana Cooper is the VA's Director of Home and Community Care. She oversees the Medical Foster Home Program.
The caregivers have to live in the home with the veteran, and so we really see that family bond and relationship.
It takes a different person to do this, Ms. Cooper.
Yeah.
Why?
I believe that every veteran has a right to remain and age in place and be with people who surround them with love.
Almost half of the veteran population is 65 and over. Nursing homes can cost over $100,000 per year out of pocket. The Medical Foster Program costs vets less than half that. Caregivers receive, on average, $2,800 per month from each veteran living in their home. Chantel, what do you get out of this?
A lot. It gives me a peace of mind to know that I'm able to help others and give back. I love helping others and I love giving back.
The program began in 2002 in Arkansas, Florida, and Puerto Rico. Today, it's found in 47 states where over 700 veterans receive home care from approximately 500 caregivers. How long do you envision yourself doing this?
Forever. I don't ever want to stop.
Any veteran enrolled in the VA system is eligible for this program. A program that serves as a powerful reminder about the healing power of home. For Eye on America, I'm James Brown in Baltimore.
Wow.
One way to avoid expensive car repair bills
And
is to be a race car driver. The other is endurance.
there we go. Okay. Now, gotta like it. Back to Zoom. There we go. Okay, everyone. Wow, that was, my eyes are leaking over here.
I
There must be
know.
something in the air. That was so.
I should have
So
warned you to grab a
yeah.
tissue.
Wow, thank you, Kim. That was so lovely. I love knowing about this service. I love knowing that we have it. It's right here in Kansas City. The VA is practically in my backyard.
Yep.
And so I love knowing that this is available and I love sharing it with our weekly webinar audience. I put a message in the chat if anybody wants a PDF of the brochure that Kim is providing. Send an email to myalliance@kumc.edu and I'll be happy to share that. We have been recording today, so this will be available to watch on our YouTube channel, especially that last 3-minute
Yep,
video is
yep,
wonderful.
for sure.
I feel like I'm definitely going to be watching that again.
What kind of questions can I answer?
Yeah, if anybody has questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and or put it in the chat. I've got a couple of questions, but of course I will cede the floor to anybody in the audience. Otherwise, one of my questions might be one of somebody else's questions,
Yeah.
Kim.
Yeah.
So of course, I'll start, and I don't see anybody unmuting yet. I am biased that, we always want to know about Alzheimer's care, so I want to get to that, but I'll go with Maurice's question about what happens if you need to leave the program? And Maurice, I assume you mean maybe if a caregiver needs to leave or a veteran needs to leave, and maybe Kim, you can answer both of those.
Yeah. So, this is, as I mentioned, this is a long-term program. So we hope that the caregiver, once they sign up, it is really caring for a veteran until end of life. However, we understand things can change. Life circumstances can change. So if something were to happen to the caregiver, we would always ask, if the backup caregiver could be, more involved with this process. If the veteran could possibly, if we have to move the veteran. As all of you probably know that moving a senior is extremely, extremely hard. So moving them more than once would be pretty tough of a transition. However, if that were to happen, though, we would ensure that they would have to be in a safe place. So as a probably a plan B would have to be probably a nursing home, unless I had another foster home that had an opening. I would double check that. Like for instance, we've had that happen in the Wichita program. They have a very thriving program in Wichita, and that is the program that I shadowed for a week, and the coordinator has built that program over the last 15 years. So it's a very robust program. She has enough homes to where they could actually, like, if that were to happen, like what I learned from her program is she could move veterans quickly. So that having more homes is definitely a better situation, but nursing home would have to be probably the next resort if the backup caregiver wasn't available. If there was any kind of safety issue as far as like moving a veteran from the home, let's say there was violence, there was, any kind of suicidal ideations, anything to that degree that puts anyone at risk, we would have to move a veteran in that scenario immediately, and they would immediately go to a respite, which it would be a nursing home level of care.
Some great questions, great answers. Thank you so much, Kim. If anybody else has another question, my question that I started to formulate was that I think I and many of us who are watching this video either live or in the future have a bias toward dementia and Alzheimer's care. And I know Kim mentioned that you do a twice-a-year training for caregivers. Do you include information in that training about
Yeah.
Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
Good answer, good answer.
Yeah, actually, that is one of the newer topics is dementia. And I'd like to, I will probably enlist, someone from the community to provide that training. And these trainings are brief, they're quick, probably 30-minute trainings or less, and it's really just to provide the education. So dementia is on the list.
Excellent, glad to hear it, and I'll say it on camera that if there's any resources that we can provide you, Kim, from the ADRC, we'll be more than happy to do that.
That's amazing.
And we've got a question from Debbie in the chat about a brother with Alzheimer's. Time for him to go to a nursing home, and he's a Vietnam vet. So
Oh,
it sounds
wow.
like, Debbie, this might be a great option for you and your family. If it's okay with you, Debbie, maybe send an email to myalliance@kumc.edu, and I can get you and Kim connected.
Absolutely.
How about that? So Debbie, if you've got a My Alliance email like that got you to today's webinar, just reply to that or send a new email and we'll get you connected. I love that we may
That's
be
cool. Yeah.
able to get you set up right
would be
away.
amazing.
That's so cool. All right. Let's see. So the Alzheimer's things check. You've answered about whether this is available in other places. It sounds like the answer is yes. Is there a minimum age for veterans to participate?
No. Even when I say aging or senior, that really can be, aging covers the whole, life spectrum really. So aging can be, a 50-some-year-old veteran who no longer can care for themselves. Maybe they have a spinal cord injury, and maybe they're paralyzed and they can't care for themselves. You've got, a variety of mental health issues. They don't have to be a senior citizen, but they definitely just are in a space where they are unsafe and need 24 hours supervision.
Excellent. Okay, and then oh my goodness, we're way past time. That always happens when we're having
Okay.
a good conversation. So thank you all for those of you who have been able to stay on. I might ask him, you can give me the answer to this other question later, and I'll let anybody know that wants to know. I had a question about the payment. Thank you for being so transparent about the cost.
Yeah.
I was wondering about taxes. It's kind of boring, I guess. And is it considered income for the caregivers to receive that money?
That's an area that's not my territory. I do get asked that question, and I always just refer the caregiver to talk to their tax person.
Okay.
So we kind of stay out of that realm. You probably don't want a social worker giving you advice on taxes, but that's a very common question.
Yeah.
But I just let them know that they need to talk to their tax person.
Okay. Debbie, I see you came off mute. If you have a question or a comment, go for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, gosh, 2:46, and I could sit and visit with you Ken,
Yeah,
forever,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we want to respect people's time. So those of you who have stayed, you're the real troopers. Thank you. I have to say, next week is very exciting. They're always exciting. Next week is our hybrid weekly webinar, our second one ever. We're gonna actually have the webinar in person and on Zoom. Those of you who can make it to our office on Shawnee Mission Parkway, are welcome to do so at 2 o'clock on Thursday. We will have local author Sonia Jury here talking about her book, which is called Mom Forgot My Birthday, A Daughter's Journey Through Alzheimer's Disease. And so she's going to share her caregiving journey and in particular what not to do, she says, when you're caring for someone with a dementia. So we'll be here in person. We will also still be on Zoom. So if you can't make it or you live too far away, you'll still be able to join us just like you always do on Zoom. And Ms. Jury will be having a conversation with me, and she'll answer questions from the audience, the live audience, and I guess everybody's live, but the Zoom audience and the in-person audience. So tune in for that. We'll have some information in your Next My Alliance newsletter. That's Thursday, August 29th, 2 o'clock. Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to anybody that might want to email and get Kim's brochure. Then we've got a whole memory clinic here at the CRC, so we'll make sure those folks have copies of the brochure as well. Thank you, everyone. We'll get this posted online probably this afternoon.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank
take
you all for
care,
your attention.
everyone.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.